Shalom and good day all. This is Healing29 with manga I have recently read through. And as you can see here, there's at least probably 26 to 28 volumes here. Overall, maybe a little bit less. So let's go through the list of what I've been reading before I actually move into the rating of what I've been, the rating of the series or of the manga that I've been reading. So first off, we have D Grey Man. Now, a lot of this manga I have read between June to July 2024. So we've got D Grey Man, volumes, the 3-in-1 volume, all the way up to 27 here. And I must admit, this story has gotten a little bit more interesting, as it sort of feels like the story is coming to a bit of a conclusion. In regards to the character of Alan Walker. Whether that's actually true or not with the actual series, I got no idea. So things could be finishing at maybe volume 30, I don't know, maybe less than that, or it still continues on after volume 30. Next is a series called Aishamon, which is done by Yuji Kaku, who is responsible for the manga series called House Paradise. And this series of his is completely different compared to House Paradise. And we meet this particular character in the series, and in a way he sort of feels like a One Punch Man character that goes up against the supernatural. Of course, there's some references to sort of like other manga titles as well, from Dragon Ball and a couple of others. And that's quite funny as well, because we get to see him sort of like try to pull off his own version of a Kamehameha. Really hilarious. I'd definitely like to check out further titles of the series, or further volumes of the series. Next we have Summer Ghost, which is sort of like a bit of a romantic type story. To which we have three characters, but we also get a fourth in the era in relation of sort of like a ghost or a spectre, to which a character somewhat falls in love with. Next we have Hinamatsuri, volumes 2 and 3. Then we are catching up with now, in Hinamatsuri, we sort of like follow the main protagonist, which is the female character, who's still working with basically her guardian, who still works with the mob, and they're doing crazy things within the story. Next, we have Mob Psycho, as this series draws closer towards the end, to which I have actually reviewed the anime in relation to these parts of the series. And I must admit, it was really nice rereading through those parts and to see if there was actually anything missing. Next we have My Hero Academia, to which we've got up to volumes 38 here. So about just 4 volumes connected to the main series, and then we've got volume 4 of the team-up missions. Next we have Book of Friends, which is basically a bit of a shoujo type story, which centers around the male character who gets to basically learn about the yokai in his world, and also meets new friends along the way. Next we have the Boruto manga series, to which this actually draws towards the end of this particular series. It feels like there's meant to be like another volume after volume 19. I'll give it that. And the reason I bring it up is just the way how the last volume sort of ends. It doesn't quite match that with what we see on the Viz Media website, or the Shonen Jump website. Next, we have Superheroes, which is a bit of an ecchi manga, And these are sort of like the last two volumes in relation to the series, and I must admit they were actually quite funny to read and enjoy, especially with the main character as Reto. And last but not least, beginning a somewhat different series, to which I've been collecting through my RCS, which is Oshinoko, which follows the life of Ai Hoshino. We learn a little bit about her, and then all of a sudden we also learn a bit about the world, how there's sort of like reincarnation in this world. What we don't know what causes like some of these reincarnations to happen. And we learned that two of the characters, sort of like in the first volume, do end up becoming, somewhat main characters as a part of the story, like towards the end, moving into the next volume. So the next thing is moving into the ratings. So into D Grey Man, which we get to follow the character of Alan Walker. I'd have to say I give these volumes that I read through, so basically rating all that's there, probably a 7.5 out of 10, as it feels sort of like it dropped a bit. Next is Aishamon. I must admit, I did have fun reading through this, or reading through these volumes, and I liked the characters that were introduced. So with that, I'm going to give it a 7.5, maybe for the first two volumes, and an 8 for the third. Next, we have Summer Ghost, to which I'll give a 7 out of 10, as I felt like the story was a bit average. Next, we have Hinamatsuri, to which I'll give the volumes 2 and 3 a 7.5 out of 10. I do want to pick up more because I have seen a cover which really grabbed my interest. And it's actually volume 4. And with volume 4, it's sort of like has the female character showing on the cover of them learning martial arts. And it's sort of like, okay, I wouldn't mind seeing what they do in that. Next is Mob Psycho. These are a pretty good adaptation of what we actually saw from the anime. For the overall rating, I give it an 8 out of 10. Next is the My Hero Academia. I really enjoyed reading through this because I've actually caught up with quite a bit of the anime, and it was actually nice to go read through scenes that I had actually seen in the anime, but not actually caught up with in the manga, but also to see how the stories are progressing out, and if there was any additional information from Horikoshi, to which there was, and I quite enjoyed that, so an 8.5 out of 10. Next is the team-up missions, an 8.5 out of 10. I like the stories in the team-up missions, because you do get like a lot of short stories in there, but sometimes the team-up missions aren't quite what you expect all the time. With Book of Friends, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I think I might need to read a little bit more of the series before I get myself completely invested. Next is Boruto. With how the Boruto volumes went through here, yeah, there was some nice little scenes and whatever. It was nice to see the character of Damon, of course, Boruto. Didn't get to see much of like some of the other characters. We still, of course, saw Kawaki and Code. We also saw the return of Delta, to which some of those things still haven't been made into anime yet. So for that, maybe a 7.5 just in relation to all of them. Seeing that these are the last two volumes of Superheroes, which is an ecchi, I give it an 8.5 out of 10. And for Oshinoko, I do have another 4 more volumes of this series, which I'll probably be reading through. I think for the beginning, because I did manage to find a way to watch the first episode in relation to Oshinoko, And I must admit, it was really nice reading through the manga because they actually got quite a lot on the screen, which they adapted quite well. But there was some things that I think anime only, which they did in relation to the character, and or which I think were really good in in the first episode, but it doesn't seem to like carry over or show in the actual manga. So for this, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. That's due to change when I read some of the further volumes. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.